Hello guys, welcome back to the Try Time Podcast YouTube channel. I'm Callum.
And I'm Matt.
And this is the Super League Stadium tier list. Right, so we want to get straight into this. 5 categories. Top categories, best in the league, then elite, then decent, then meh, then knock it down. So we're going to be ranking them on various factors, whether it's how the stadium looks, how many fans it holds, or just the atmosphere and the history with the stadium. Obviously, it's going to be contrasting views, so we do want you guys down below to let us know sort of if you agree with our opinions and what you think. So, without further ado, I reckon we get into it. And the first one I've got on my tier list is Warrington Wolves. What are you thinking?
Right, I'll tell you what, we're going to do one word each of our tier, and then if we agree, solid. If we don't, then we can discuss more. So, Warrington Wolves, I'm going to go elite.
Elite. Honestly, exactly what I had in mind. So we'll pop Warrington in elite. I think not much to say about this really. I think it's a top ground, top atmosphere, everything about
good
it
facilities, good. Modern, nice enough, holds enough people. Lacks a bit of history, but then that's sadly Warrington all over at the moment. Never mind, guys, it's your year.
Bit of a shot there, but to be fair, they can't.
I mean, come on, they literally made an "It's Your Year" joke with Warrington in the BBC iPlayer Challenge Cup coverage. So,
right. So next up, an interesting one. Castleford Tigers. Elite for you, right? That's interesting.
Easy.
I'd say decent, and I think elite in terms of history, atmosphere, great. But then you've got to look at the ground and how it holds up, and it is a bit of a rough one. So
well, let's just be honest here. The pitch itself holds up fine. There's no problems in terms of a playing surface. It is probably one of the last old-fashioned rugby grounds left in the league, and it should be protected at all costs. There is nothing better than standing in a cold tin shed cheering on your team in the snow. Old school rugby.
Yeah, I do get that, and I think out of the grounds that kind of are the ones that are kind of old, and you'd think they'd have moved on from by now. I think Castleford holds the most atmosphere and good history there compared to some other teams sort of grounds.
Well, as I'm sure we're going to say later, it has hot water, so that alone makes it elite compared to some of the others in this list.
Yes, so you've said elite, I've said decent. Where are we compromising here? What are we saying? Is it on tier with Warrington is what I'm thinking, because Warrington has a really good sort of atmosphere around it, and
the Warrington atmosphere is not comparable to Castleford in my opinion.
But
you don't have it.
Is that due to the ground?
Yes, because instead of you don't need a drum at Castleford, you just bang on tin shed a bit at back and it makes a racket. It literally gets the crowd jumping and the stand shaking. And not in the sense it's about to fall down.
I know some of the teams that we're going to put in elite, and you can just tell teams that are going to be up there.
And I think Cass should be in there. Right, go on. You've got the mouse, you put them where you want, but Cass fans, I'm not agreeing with this. I think you should be higher.
They're in the middle, but I'm going to say decent just because I know we're going to put more in there.
Yeah, you've got the mouse, so you have the deciding factor, which is quite annoying actually, but...
Yeah, well.
Don't hate me for this one because I'm back in elite, but...
Right, next up, an interesting one actually, Catalans Dragons, what were we saying?
I wasn't sure where to put this one actually, so I've kind of gone down the middle and said it's decent.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same because I think it does hold that decent sort of away atmosphere as well as the home.
I'll be honest, it's not somewhere I've ever been, it's not somewhere I plan on going right at the moment, so I don't really feel I can fairly judge this either way, so I've just gone down the middle to be as fair as I can. Yeah, it looks nice on telly, there we go, sorted.
Yeah, pretty similar, and from people that I've spoken to who have obviously been there a few times, and you can tell by the amount of away fans that do travel there continuously. It has good facilities, it's a good ground.
Well, it's got good weather.
And, in terms of well that gives it.
I'm not sure how many go because it's a sick ground, or how many go for a summer holiday, but
Right, so fairly easy one that. So next up, interesting one, Huddersfield Giants.
Are there any that you don't find interesting, by the way? You've said this about every single one of them. Right, Huddersfield, meh.
See, this is...
Oh, here we go again.
because this is where it gets interesting, because as a ground, in terms of the size and everything and the look and the facilities, realistically, it's a top ground.
Right,
but I get what you mean.
sorry, the size, there are 2 stands that don't even open.
Yeah, on the contrary, there is the fact that they don't fill it out, but I don't think any Super League team would, and that's the problem with having these big grounds.
I don't think Huddersfield come close. The only stand that ever looks full's the away end. They'd be better playing at Shawcross.
It's one of them where it's like, it's not like there's not, it doesn't feel tied to the club, obviously. It is Huddersfield Town's.
It don't feel tied to Huddersfield Town, to be quite honest, every time I've been, literally. And I mean, I know I'm getting picky here, but the seats have literally been left in the sun for what looks like 3 decades. Put some actual nice coloured plastic on them at least, for God's sake, make it look nice. You were a Premier League team last year.
So we're saying meh, are we?
Well, I mean, I was going to say, if we go by your thing, then you have to move Castle to Elite, so make your decision.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I'll put them in meh. I'm edging on the meh decent side. There's different sides to it. Right, okay. So another football ground, but one that I think carries a bit better than Huddersfield is Hull FC. So,
ooh,
what are we reckoning?
I don't think I can give it higher than a decent, you know.
I think I'm going to agree with you on decent, because I do think it has that better atmosphere in comparison.
It's got more atmosphere, but I don't think it's perfect. And again, that comes because one side of the ground is completely empty. Yeah, now, I imagine if you're in the corner between 2 very full stands, it's probably a very different opinion to what you have as if you're on the empty end, for example.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I'd agree. More atmosphere than Huddersfield. No annoying cowbell. Facilities are really good, and I'm not being skewed by the fact I was in corporate hospitality, I promise.
Yeah, I think this has... I feel like this... I know it's obviously Hull City's ground as well, but this feels to me more like Hull FC's ground. There's more of an identity around the ground than there is Huddersfield.
Well, all the seats are black and white. There's no orange on the actual seats. I mean, I know you've got that more on the outside. Interesting though that apparently they might be looking at moving home in the news this week because they don't feel at home at the KCOM, which kind of goes against what we're saying, but in terms of from the outside, it's got a bit more identity to it, so yeah, that's why I think it's better than Huddersfield. So we settled on decent?
Yeah, decent's good. So moving across to the other Hull team, who are looking to actually do some improvements on the ground. It's come out recently.
I'm glad you touched on this, because until they're completed, it's only a meh.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's a ground that, as a fan, going to it, it's one of them weird ones where the atmosphere is held in and it has got the tradition, and I think exactly what it needs. Obviously, Hull have got a strong fan base and that, and a great sort of atmosphere and stuff. Anyway, like away travel and everything, that's that goes without saying. But the sort of thing that they're introducing, like kind of off the Toronto model, I think is exactly what this kind of old, outlandish sort of stadium needs.
Once that's done, it will be in decent ease, and potentially, depending how it goes, could even be knocking on the door of Elite.
Oh, definitely. If it encourages other teams to do it as well and proves to be a success, then I think definitely it'll be one of them grounds that away fans want to go to. Which at the minute, I think if you're a away fan, you travel, you want to be there, but it's not one of them that you're like, oh, it's a definite for me. If it's 50-50.
Especially given how awkward it is to get to, because let's be honest, it's not an easy place to go. I mean, unless you're a Hull FC fan, it's a long trip, and it's not near the train station, and you don't really want to drive in Hull because the second you go even 31, you've probably been slapped with a £200 fine.
Yeah, and also...
I'm not bitter, by the way. I'm not speaking from personal experience in the slightest about driving in East Yorkshire.
On first game at Championship season 2017, Bradford at Hull Car away. Me and my nan were going down there. Sold too many tickets to Bradford fans, so we were shoehorned in with some, sat down with some sort of corporate, family stand Hull KR fans, which weren't ideal, but that's by the by, really. But just from experience. So, are we saying meh? for now?
Yes.
With the view to it being decent, yeah?
We've talked a lot about one that we both agree on, let's face it, so let's not do that for every ground, or we'll be here all night.
Yeah, that is true. Next up, we've got 6 left, we're halfway there. Leeds Rhinos, your team.
Best in the league. Call me biased, I'm sorry, I'm not accepting anything other than best in the league on this one. There's a reason it's been chosen since day one to host the matches when we've got all at the same ground. There's a reason it's on the World Cup schedule. It is single-handedly the best ground in the league.
And I think we have to put it in best in the league purely because of, we've spoke about for the other clubs, with the history, the atmosphere. You can't really knock the atmosphere at Leeds, it is top class.
I think it has arguably dropped a little since they have redeveloped the stands.
But the redevelopment does improve the fact that other teams have potentially gone to new stadiums, whereas Leeds have built on the heritage and the stuff already there, which I do like. And I think you've got to forget, I think people probably forget the kind of how, in a way, innovative it is. Like, I've been to sort of games at Edinburgh as a sort of a Bradford away fan.
Well, you were at the Rob Borough fundraising match last year, after it had all been done. And the fact we have blooming practically laser lights onto pitch at the start of every half, it builds its atmosphere so well. You've got history in the murals and everything around the ground, which are constantly being updated. And I mean, this was interesting. It's completely sidetracked here, but to anyone that's seen, Leeds have relaunched some of their retro shirts, modern takes on them. And it's quite interesting because some of these are from when the club was basically crap, before the golden generation, when there were talks of moving to Ellen Road. Just imagine what we'd be missing out on if we were ranking Leeds as Ellen Road.
Yeah, that's true.
That would not be the best in the league, I'll tell you that for nothing. So
yeah, completely get that, and that's what I think. And I think the fan experience on the day is good as well. So yeah.
Unless it's raining, but sorry, we can't do all about that. Blame the people that live in the houses behind. We've tried to give you a roof. If you don't like it, take it up with 90-year-old John or whatever who's moaning because he can't watch match from his bedroom window.
Right, so moving away from Leeds, we've got the sort of newly up in Super League team, Leigh Centurions. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know much about the LSV, so I'm kind of happy to let you take the lead on this one.
You know what, if this were a Super League, if a team kind of had this in the way that, what I'm getting is, if a Super League sort of team, say like Castleford, who's been in Super League for the past, good few years and built that kind of around it, and I think Leigh would be very high up, but I think people overlook it because it's been a championship ground for kind of a good few years with it.
Well, let's ignore that and judge it on merits. So the little bit I do know, facilities seem decent. Pitch seems pretty good and holds up nicely after a game, and I don't think it's that bad of a size. I don't know what the capacity is. It's about 12 or 13,000, or is it bigger than that?
It might be a bit less than that, but it's perfect for rugby. It's perfect for rugby league, and honestly, it is probably one of the best away days I've been on.
I'm happy to say elite based on that.
Yeah, elite because the facilities are there. It's a good ground, and I think Leigh fans bring the atmosphere there. It suits what they're about. The pitch is great, and like I say, as an away fan, I think a lot of Super League fans will be hoping that they can get to this ground this year, obviously COVID pending, because it is a great away day. So,
well, if not, we both think they'll be safe from drop, so there's always next year. So moving on.
Next up, Salford.
Right, meh, instantly.
Yeah, I see that, because I think as a ground and looking at it, yeah, it's a good ground. Facilities are realistically good.
Right, let me just cut across you here. Looking at it, it's a good stand. Because all you notice is one stand that's this monster. I mean, I'm not, I say monstrosity in terms of it has stature rather than it's an eyesore that's just plonked at the side of M62.
Yeah, that's the thing, the fact that they only use just sort of one stand of it, and as an away fan, you probably don't love it there. There's all the
Watching it on TV, it looks ridiculous because all you see, especially if it's an hour league game that's not on Sky, is just an empty stand. It's like watching lockdown rugby before lockdown rugby was even a thing.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, I think it's not got the history there. Obviously, they moved over there and stuff. So I do agree with you. It's probably going to have to go in at there.
I mean, I know it was kind of starting to get a bit run down, but if they'd have stayed at the Willows, I'd probably be making some of the same arguments I did about Castleford.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, a ground that takes you the best part of an hour to leave after the match if you want to park anywhere within 2 miles of it is not an elite ground.
Yeah, fair enough.
I appreciate they can't do all about that, particularly given it's built now, but still, points off.
Right. St. Helens.
This is difficult. Facilities, right up there. Pitch, right up there. History, not really. It's all at Knowsley Road, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Leigh don't have much history, but we gave them elite. I think it probably is an elite ground, let's be honest.
I'm thinking
They just...
elite, yeah.
Because, I mean, if we ask this question in 20 years when St Helens probably have built history up there, assuming it stays modern and with the times the same way that some of the other grounds do, you probably do talk of it in the same sort of remit that we're talking about Headingley.
Yeah,
Just perhaps less corporate.
Yeah, I definitely think it's one of them that it's received one of the best on TV in terms of atmosphere and how it looks for TV, for Sky. Definitely. It's up there, it's very similar to Warrington, I think. In terms of
Yeah, that's a good comparison, and we gave Warrington elite, so I think it's only fair. Okay, next club.
Right, next up, Wakefield.
Oh, well. I mean, do you know what? Move Headingley down. Wakefield's got a bit best in league, hasn't it? Overrun with little red spiders, no hot water, toilets barely work, but you can sneak in as a kid for free, so what's not to love?
Yeah, well, that's our experience from the last game of rugby we actually saw in person when we went to the Wakefield Bradford Cup game last year, and it was literally the dawn of COVID, and there was no hot running water to wash your hands with.
Oh, got it.
About it.
I mean, yeah, it's a wonder that we didn't literally turn into Wuhan bats and end up on ventilators there, which, I mean, I know it's not a nice thing to joke about, but it's that bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of mad looking back that they had that, and then also like going away from that experience, even then the way that the ground is, you've got your cast, which is kind of your classic old ground. People say, well, if you're putting cast in decent, you've got to put Wake there, but
no, I don't
think you do.
I don't think the atmosphere's there the same.
It's not, because they don't fill it, to be fair. No, it's
well, and
definitely
also
not.
Castleford is a packed open end that's always full of away fans, tight to the pitch, tin sheds full of people banging on them and singing for the full 80 minutes. Wakefield, one end of it looks like an office block and just has some blokes on a balcony. The other end of it, the main stand, and the one on the side opposite that, yeah, okay, that's where some of the atmosphere is. The other length of the field stand that's mostly seating is not really that full often. And also, seated rugby stands never have the same atmosphere. That's one of the big problems with football grounds being used, which we'll probably touch on again when we get to Wigan. Yeah, and we talk about Leeds not having a roof. I'm sorry, that's better than Wakefield's second length stand that has literally a small roof that covers about 20 metres. Could they not be asked to finish the rest of it, or did they run out of money?
Are we knocking it down?
We're knocking it down. I don't care. I don't know what's happened to Cass's supposed new ground, but please just take over that. It's got to be better than this crap. The only plus point is it's not far to go to, and my car went on bricks.
Right, that's it for Wake. Let's not slander him too much. So, last team, as we've said, is Wigan. What are we reckoning?
Well, as I perfectly summed up there, it's a nice ground. I think it has more history than Huddersfield, and more identity than Huddersfield. But unless you're talking a big game, Wigan against one of the local or top teams, you know, you're saying Helens especially, but also the likes of Warrington, Leeds, pick any other team that happens to be running for the top 4 that season. It's just a little bit flat. I mean, Wigan Catalans, let's pick that game for example, because we know everyone jokes about the Catalan games being flat because, well, we know why. There's no travelling fans hardly, and to be fair, no, I couldn't afford to come to the UK every other weekend to go watch my team play if I was a Catalan fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the question is it elite or decent?
To me, it's decent. I think it's along the lines of Hull FC. I think.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to go along with that. There's nothing that makes me say it's as good or better ground as Warrington or St Helens that it should be pushed up higher. And I mean, if we're talking about what it is as a stadium, for me the atmosphere is one of the most important things, which is why actually I'd argue it's worse than Castleford's ground. Because at least Cas are consistent in creating an atmosphere.
Yeah, I do get that, but I do think it's on par with them indeed. I think I'd pop it in. I think decent's the right place for it.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Hopefully you thought this video was decent or elite, or maybe even the best on YouTube. Who knows?
Yeah.
Please don't knock us down.
Let us know what you think about our sort of tier list down below and where you'd place these teams, and also what other sort of tier lists and type of videos like this you want to see us do. Is it, you know, the tier list of the, you know, Super League fullbacks, or anything, any ideas you've got, we'd love to hear them, and we'll love to sort of put them into fruition and get them done.
And if you want more best in the league content, then be sure to hit the big red subscribe button. It's free, we don't take any money from you, and you can cancel any time. What's not to love?
Yeah, exactly. And also obviously check out all the recent podcasts and videos that we've been doing as well. There's some good content there that we think you guys would enjoy.
Our first guest on the podcast this year, Greg McNally, plugging him to death because why not? His biggest name we've got, bigger than us two, literally.
Yeah, but other than that, guys, we will catch you later. See you later. Bye.